Welcome to Focus on the Candidates. My guest today is my friend Jose Vega, and Jose is running as an independent for
Hmm.
the second run in the city of, well, the Bronx, the city of New York. And he's running against, again, probably Richie Torres. So tell us about your first campaign. Why'd you decide to run, how you did it, and why you decided to go for a second time.
Well, I think what we did in the Bronx was nothing short of magical. We had so many people come out from around the country who wanted to support our campaign. We ended with 2.5% of the vote, but I don't even think that's a good metric for what we actually did in the Bronx. I
Mm-hmm.
honestly believe that we did elevate the conscious here in the Bronx, and more importantly, I think we started something where other people around the country felt inspired, at least, to say, I want to do that too. Or I want to be a part of something independent as well. And, I decided to do this again because, Richie Torres is still evil. He's still here. But more importantly, I still believe that there are policies that the United States should adopt in order to develop itself further, that only exist on a higher federal level, that can only be implemented on a higher federal level. But more importantly, myself and Diane Sayre have ideas that are not, you know, being discussed right now by any other federal candidate whatsoever, which are these big ideas that would require an electoral platform to start educating people on.
When I was passing flyers out on the 4th of July, somebody that I know, have known for a long time, gave him a flyer and he looked at it and he says, I'm not taking this. This is the LaRouche organization. They're nothing but fascists.
Oh
So
God.
I felt like saying, well, you're just standing here holding a sign. Why aren't you challenging your congressional incumbent? But I,
That's right.
you know, but you know, we all do what we want to do, and if we
Mhm.
just want to hold a sign, good for them. That's how I feel about it.
I agree. I
Yep,
agree. That's good. No, 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 thank you for that. Obviously, as you know, we get accused of being a lot of things. And maybe people should just engage with us and ask us what we think rather than make assumptions.
right. Too many people make too many assumptions, I think.
Yes, they
Yeah.
do.
So you have a history dating back a few years now of confronting uh, incumbents
Yep.
to, well, they're speaking with your bullhorn, and your in your face politics has made you really loved by the alternative media. Share a little bit for people who want to run for office. Talk about your alternative media and how they could, uh, get involved with alternative media like you have.
Well, I don't know how I got involved with alternative media. I think it was a complete accident. It was because people saw my videos that went viral of me confronting different politicians, different elected officials, where I was calling them out for being hypocrites or for being liars or for, just outright spewing warmongering BS. And yeah, I uh, I wanted to just stand up against them and say, I have to do something, and that's when I started intervening. And I posted these videos on the internet, and that's when people started reaching out to me. So,
So you've confronted AOC, and she's a congresswoman in the Bronx. You've confronted Hillary Clinton, and I think people respect you for having the gumption to do what you did. What do you think?
I You know, all I want is for other people to do the same thing.
And are there any other people confronting elected officials
Oh
that,
yeah.
oh,
Lots
good.
of people have done it. Lots of other people have done it, you know. And I'm not saying that it's all credited because of me, but I'm just saying that I'm happy to see that there are other people who have also started to stand up against their politicians or organize, against them and stuff. And I think that that's great.
Okay, so I saw you on Redacted yesterday, and the headline was that the powers that be are deathly afraid of you. If you do win in your second try, and let's say you're the only one that is you're from your organization, how do you plan to be a force in Congress if you're the only person?
Well, one, of course, is the things that I'm famous for, which is calling out the hypocrisy of these politicians and, calling out their lies and just telling the truth is the same kind of energy I would bring to the congressional floor. I'm sure a lot of people would like to see these politicians confronted head on where they work and where they can't get away with their lies anymore, and not just polished, truths here and there that are occasionally said, but actually saying the things that people want to hear on the congressional floor. I mean, like, look at this Epstein disaster. Suddenly, there's no client list. Epstein did, in fact, commit suicide. No more questions, nothing further. And that's how they're gonna end the investigation. Somebody in the Congress needs to raise hell about that. And we don't see Anna Paulina Luna saying anything about that, who was supposed to be heading up the committee to release this stuff. No
Mm.
congressional inquiry, nothing. I mean, there should be a congressional inquiry into this. There should be all kinds of things, and they're not happening. And the reason they're not happening is because, well, the entire government, in one way or another, is complicit in this. I mean, I would like to see, some Democrats raise some hell about this. Why isn't Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez coming out and saying we should at least ask the FBI, we should bring Kash Patel to the congressional floor? Um, somebody in some committee ought to figure this out.
So I'm sure that you've followed AOC from the very beginning. Are you surprised with her um becoming part of the establishment, or did you realize that she was going to do this early on?
Um, I was surprised. I think a lot of
You
us were
were.
surprised. Yeah. Yeah, I
Re-
believed in her. So, I thought she was going to be different and she wasn't.
Okay. And how soon after she was in Congress did you realize it was going to be the same old, same old?
Probably when she elected Nancy Pelosi to be Speaker of the House, despite the fact that she said she was going to go in there to raise a ruckus.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, I mean, yeah, it might have alienated her from the Democratic base, but frankly, the entire leadership needed to be shaken up. They needed
Mhm.
to hold firm, and they didn't. So, she's a
I
fraud.
I think
She was. I mean, I think people are capable of changing. I mean, I don't know if the Zoran win may actually inspire her to want to change again. She probably ascribed to the notion that like now is not the right time. We have to wait. We have to play our cards right. And okay, that's a strategy. But then it's like all the people that have died, you know, in between then and now, and that
mm,
decision she made to not shake up the leadership in the establishment, I mean, then you have to weigh that on your conscience. Like, was that worth it? Was that
as
worth?
far
Yeah.
as far as leadership is concerned, what do you think of Jeffries?
He's horrible. He's a mouthpiece. I don't know. Yeah, he's bad. He's just a big, I mean, I've confronted Jeffries, as well. Like these guys are horrible. And
Mm.
so, yeah.
But if the Democrats get a majority, he will be the next speaker.
Well, yeah, he's still horrible.
Oh
So,
boy. Okay. So let's say you win and you're sworn in and you're a lone wolf in Congress. How are you going to shake things up when Congress is set up to make sure that somebody like you either gets defeated the next time or ostracized?
Um, well, what do you mean?
Well, the leadership in Congress is not going to be too happy with you if you step on their toes, and they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that you're silenced.
Yeah.
And how are you going to deal with that?
Well, it's a good question. I think for one, I would hope that the same apparatus that would put me in office, which would be a whole new movement of people, would be the ones that would back me up. But more importantly, getting other people who are independent elected as well around the country. And that
Mhm.
doesn't mean we have to agree on everything, but that means having a government that you can trust. And so, they can do whatever they want. Sure, I may not be able to be on any committees in the first 2 years, but it's like, we have to think about it as a long-term process.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, have you been down to Washington? Have you been in the House chamber when it was in session? What are your views about that?
About
Being there.
just being there.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been down there for a few things, a couple of House committee hearings and stuff on the Kennedy files and whatnot. And, it's all a smoke show. I mean, the decisions for these bills don't get made on the congressional floor. They're not debated there. It's all through back channel stuff, backdoor stuff, handshakes and whatnot. It's really bad, actually. And so, it's just a really bad environment being there.
now you said on redacted that you're 26.
I am.
So over the course of the time that you get out of high school up until now, have you seen a marked deterioration of politics in general?
Well, in order for that, it would have had to be good at some point. But I was born into this like corrupt system that just doesn't serve anybody as a
Right?
horrible system. So, you know, and have I seen the corrupt deterioration? I guess I've seen it take its ugly mask off and just decide not to even pretend to want to be good anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So when you go around the Bronx, um, is your district? It's one of the poorest districts in the country. Am I correct?
Yes, it's the poorest congressional district in the country.
It is.
Yep.
Okay, so what is the rate of unemployment? What's the rate of poverty? What's the rate of uh the school dropout rate? You know, why do you say it's the poorest? Can you give us examples of, to back that up?
Well, the biggest indicator of it is the fact that out of the entire country, in this congressional district, 35% of the people, so it's like over a third of the people who live in this district alone, live underneath the poverty line. The poverty line is $34,000 a year. So if you make $34,000 a year, that is the line right there where they say that, that's that indicates whether you're poor or not, or where your poverty is. And the median income for the people who are in that 35% is $22,000 a year. So, I'm one of those people. And that is the highest poverty rate and than any other congressional district in the country. On top of that, we have the highest illiteracy rates. We have the highest unhealthy rates. The unemployment rate you asked, I think, was something like just between people who are 18 to 35, is something incredibly high, like 25 to 30%, I believe. It's just really bad here. Um, and the solutions to fix them would be the same solutions to fix the entire country, which is just a national reorientation of our war machine economy to, back to, reindustrializing our country and bringing it back to a place where it was productive again, where we're making stuff that the world and the country needs and uses.
So, one important aspect of a healthy economy or is healthy people. How bad is the nu- how bad is nutrition for kids going to school? Do they have access to fresh, um, organic fruits and vegetables?
Well, the Bronx is a notorious food desert place, meaning
Hmm.
we don't have a lot of organic stuff. I mean, supermarkets, of course, always offer fresh vegetables and fresh fruits and stuff, but yeah, it's just not really something that's, used or seen here or bought or consumed as much as other things here. You go to different strips down on different big avenues, and it's all corporate fast food chains that have dominated, you know, people's diets and people's lunches and stuff for years now.
Hmm. So, out of all of the out of all of the alternative media that you've been on, who do you enjoy talking to? Besides me, of course.
I was just about to say focus on the candidates is definitely up there. You know,
Mhm.
maybe Issues That Matter is another good show.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Okay. But they don't get the views that like redacted gets, and you've been on Jimmy Dore absolutely adores you. And I think it's great that these people in the alternative media have embraced you and talk about you. I think it only enhances your credibility rather than being, you know, a person in the mainstream media. I think it's great.
Well, I'm glad you think so. Thank you.
Okay. So, any final thoughts about your campaign? Any final thoughts about the Bronx that people should know?
Um, yeah, I think what we're doing with the campaign is not your typical electioneer strategy. We're going to get 5 points here. We're going to appeal our message to these kinds of people so that they want to vote for us. That's horrible. I say what I think and I say what I believe, and I, speak always honestly, and I don't try to, appeal or try to, cut my message down to appeal to everybody, which I know is like sacrosanct as a candidate. You're supposed to try to be popular and appeal to everyone, but it's like, no, I appeal to the truth first and foremost. And I let the chips fall where they may after I do that. And I've been in situations where I've had to say that or openly contradict somebody, because I'm not, in favor of what that person is or isn't saying.
The criteria amongst the establishment is how much money a candidate can raise. That's what makes them credible. How's your fundraising been?
It can always be better, and people can always donate at votevega.nyc.
So, and also, how do you have a website?
Yeah, votevega.nyc. It takes you right to our donation and volunteer page and our updates.
Jose, best of luck. It's going to be an interesting 2 years. I'm Cynthia
Absolutely.
Pooler. This is Focus on the Candidates. You've been listening to um, Jose Vega. If you like this show, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.